Hi, and welcome to Smart String Teacher, and welcome back to this series on how to easily troubleshoot and fix technique problems on string instruments. So, obviously you can tell that today's tip is related to the bass and also happens on the cello as well, but I thought I'd demonstrate this on the bass. So here's one of those problems that bass players have, and that is this band to wrist. And sometimes it happens on the cello, but not as often. Okay, so if you didn't already know, the wrist and the arm on the bass and the cello should be straight, okay? Should be flat. Now, why is that? We need to know why that's important. Because when the wrist is bent, we cut off the use of these muscles, and we can only rely on these small muscles to press down these nice, large, heavy strings, okay? So we want to be able to engage our whole arm when we're pressing those strings down, and that makes it much easier for your students to play, especially bass players. You want to make sure the bass is played correctly and with good technique so that the bass is easy to play. Because if bass players are set up correctly, it's actually the easiest instrument, I think, in the string family to play. So if you're not sure how to do that, you might actually want to look into my summer training or my online training, and just look in the description for the links to those. So we've got a bent wrist and we want to straighten it. So what do? What teachers will tend to do, and what I used to do, is I'd tell them to straighten their wrist, and they try to do it, and they'll do it for a couple of seconds, and then it falls back down, and they can't keep it up. Now, why is that? And it also feels like a lot of effort, right? Well, the problem is that the actual bend in the wrist is not the problem. The problem is that this fingerboard is too far away from the face. Okay, so the fingerboard should actually be like right up close to their face, and that will automatically straighten their arm. Can you see that? Also, you'll also see that the fingerboard is too vertical, and it should be angled towards their head. So fixing that problem is as simple as that. Okay, I call this the telephone position, actually, because it's like where my telephone would be if I were talking on the phone. If you're interested in learning how to set up the bass properly on a student, you might want to look into my training. You can look in the description for a link to that. But that is the main solution. And sometimes that happens with cellos depending on how well they're set up. And again, if you want to learn how to set up a cellist properly, look into my training. So I hope that helped you. If you have any bass players that look like this, see if you can get them to position their bass correctly so that their arm straightens out. I've got 2 more tips for you, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss those. Thanks.